Key economic indicators are measured as a percentage of GDP because that is the most appropriate way of giving them a context. Well, these include government spending, tax collections, trade and current account imbalances, and most significantly, the fiscal deficit. Analysts look at these figures to determine the intrinsic health of a country's economic architecture. Rating agencies base their outlook on them, and foreign portfolio investors allocate capital on such scores. So, in the budget presentation to Parliament earlier this year, the finance minister reassuringly declared that the fiscal deficit would be maintained at 3.3% of GDP. Now, obviously, the Treasury recognizes the fact that high deficits worry investors and crowd out private capital, but the fiscal deficit is really one in a larger plot. It can be managed by keeping borrowings off the books in order to comply. Such off-balance sheet borrowings are to the tune of approximately 1.5 trillion rupees or 0.7% of GDP. India's sovereign paper is rated investment grade or just about. The fact is, several countries that seem economically more responsible appear to get away with better ratings. These include many with huge pension liabilities, where their governments have no clue as to where the money to honor these liabilities will come from. Why is it then that agencies fail to provide India with better scores? The answer is they look at other parameters, including national debt-saving, rather than the more simplistic fiscal deficit. Their calculations consider the debt of the central government, those of its enterprises, state governments and their business undertakings, and finally municipal and local authorities. All such liabilities add up to an alarming 6.5 to 7% of GDP. However, the crucial figure still remains the fiscal deficit. The budget papers, as I argued previously, place this at 3.3% of GDP, but on the explicit assumption that the economy would grow at 8%. This target now appears unfeasible, as real growth is likely to be well below this figure, probably around the 5% mark. Moreover, the recent cut in corporation tax will reduce revenue by as much as rupees 1.5 trillion or 0.7% of GDP. Consequently, the assumptions that have been made may go awry, forcing agencies to revise their outlook, forcing certain funds to reconsider their positions, and even exit India's financial markets. Now, that would put pressures on the currency, that would put pressures on inflation, and frankly create liquidity nightmares. Whether the tax cut is sufficient to compensate for these factors remains to be seen. But for now, risks ahead appear to be weighed on the downside. Thank you.